Salutations, Utopians. Hope all is well with you on this Memorial Day weekend. Want to catch up on some videos that I didn't get out. Unfortunately, first and foremost, I hope everything's been going great. I've been watching, today I got the privilege of watching the Minnesota Timberwolves series versus the Dallas Mavericks. Now they're down, Minnesota, that is officially 3-0. And interesting enough, there is some controversy with Minnesota. They have a need for a second certified option, and this offseason they're going to be, Tim Connolly, formerly of the Denver Nuggets. I could see him being ultra aggressive, and the team I'm about to talk about, I believe, could be on the menu. Today I want to talk about JB Bickerstaff's termination. The head coaching carousel has been absolutely psychotic and maniacal, to say the least. When you think about what Frank Vogel endured in Phoenix, uh, which virtually in an impossible situation in a flawed roster, Darvin Ham with the Lakers, them not properly equipping uh, Darvin and the Lakers with front office failure to acquire a proper front line, having Anthony Davis out of position all year, um, really proved to be a detriment. And Darvin Ham just having to navigate around LeBron's awards and milestones really made for a strain on his ability to do his job. And then now you're talking about JB Bickerstaff, who, if you quite frankly, last season they got swept, but they made it out the first round. This year they were decimated by injuries. They only had a total of 28 games with their entire unit, starting unit, and went to the playoffs, got out the first round, progress, um, battled with the Boston Celtics. I believe they got a win or two. Um, it's the Celtics. They're fundamentally flawless in terms of roster wise. They're very cerebral. They got everything that they need. They can play you in any style. And the Cavaliers simply were outmatched. When you lose Jared Allen, a key frontline contributor, granted, Boston didn't have Kristaps Porzingis, but obviously Kobe Altman, the GM of the Cavaliers, did not care. Um, there's been reports that they were not pleased with the high usage rate of Donovan Mitchell during the season, and he had some type of injury that kept him out north of 20 games. It's unfortunate, um, but there's a clear roster flaw. And so, for me, I'm not really buying the fact that it was just time. I think Marcus Morris went on a podcast and just tried to say, there was a divide in the locker room, but if front office and head coach were on the same page, there wouldn't be a divide. It wouldn't matter if the roster was divided because everyone already knows that backcourt of Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell has a problem. As soon as Mitchell missed some time, Darius Garland thrived. And so it further backed the notion that, JB Bickerstaff wasn't necessarily the problem. Um, you have a developing big man in Evan Mobley who sometimes has to be reminded of his size. There's no lacking of skill, but just the fact that he plays like he needs permission is proven to be a problem. And so um, I'm watching all this unravel. I mean, 5 years down the drain, he paid his dues. He was first an assistant coach with Cleveland, so he was groomed sort of for this role. It took over the reins. Kind of a hard old school, gritty coach, and I don't know if Cleveland thinks, hey, this guy's worth 100, Garland is worth 123 mil. It's going to be difficult to move that contract. Maybe we let Donovan Mitchell pick his head coach. I honestly think that Donovan Mitchell just needs to get out of Cleveland and they got to rebuild. They've hit their ceiling. They got a guy in Jared Allen who just quite frankly is another immovable contract. Um, I keep telling people they should just rehash the old 2019 Brooklyn Nets team. Get yourself Kenny Atkinson, acquire D'Angelo Russell. He's the more economically efficient option I think if I'm Mitch, if I'm D'Lo, I would go as a free agent to Orlando. But if I'm not going to go to Orlando as my own rights, because obviously I feel like the Lakers, even though he's a free agent, they're still going to decide where he gets rerouted. His free agency is not really his free agency. If he gets traded in a sign and trade in some big three-team deal, and he can be reunited with Jared Allen, Karis LeVert, paired with Kenny Atkinson, that's a team that not only is a very formidable foe in the East, but also a very entertaining team where you're not necessarily tied to winning a championship. You're okay with the outcome because it's a fun team to watch. And so it's like every team can't win a championship. And I think the Cavs would be a very entertaining team that you would be satisfied with the ceiling, right? Push come to shove. But with that being said, you got a guy in Donovan Mitchell who's going to need to go somewhere next year. I don't see the Lakers having the necessary trade package to acquire an individual of that caliber. What I could see though is a team like Minnesota with a hyper aggressive GM like Altman say, hey, we give you a McDaniel, Carl Towns, one of those kind of pieces paired with some supporting cast. You could honestly see that this could get very interesting for the Cavs and for the Wolves because I just don't see themselves. You're going to have to bring something more, and Minnesota is not okay with second. And so I could easily see them saying, hey, we have no use for this two center lineup. We can find a more financially feasible stretch forward next to Rudy Gobert who can do. I mean, they still got Naz Reid on an economically efficient deal. And quite frankly, his physicality makes up the differential between himself and Karl Towns, though Karl did a phenomenal job against now the three-time MVP. But you can move Towns. You can move McDaniels if you have to, if you absolutely have to, because Mike Conley is more reserved backup point guard than he is a starter. But these are the things that I think. I haven't heard anyone else bring up a Donovan Mitchell to Minnesota trade. But that is something like that would be necessary in order, because I just don't see Garland being able to be a movable deal as easy as you can with Mitchell in a sign and trade perhaps. So, Cleveland has some things to think about. I don't know if they're looking for a coach who can they can sell to both Garland and Mitchell. I see that Boston is beatable, but I don't see them losing this year. But if I'm Mitchell, knowing that I have to play the rest of my career, likely my prime in this next deal, I don't want to run a risk running with Garland. He clearly was out of rhythm. You've seen how he immediately snapped into shape once he was gone, absent from the lineup. For whatever reason, the mojo's off, and he's already missed out on his max with Utah, the super max. It could really just benefit him to say, you know what, I'm already out of the super max opportunities. Let me just try to go to the best place I can go to get paid and win a chip. And so he definitely deserves to be on a contender. He definitely deserves to be playing in meaningful games. Though I think this season was just a tragic shortcoming. They're not, the Knicks are going to come back full speed next year. Milwaukee has a full off season together again to really get used to each other. Indiana's not going any younger. They're only going to get better. So like the East is very much a problem for Mitchell right now. And if you're not going to get a LeBron in free agency, they're going to need to figure out. He's going to have to figure out where he's going to spend his career because. Yes, they have a very solid roster, but I don't know if that front line has the dog in it, and they're not going to be able to just move off that front line. This isn't, a game of 2K franchise mode. All right, Utopians, I won't talk your ear off any longer. I'll try to do better next time. Global out.